to set the economy on a path of recovery and growth.
Also, scrapping nuisance taxes and improving living standards top of the list for experts and other Ghanaians with barely 24 hours to the budget presentation.
And much later on a special feature series, we focus on the increasing price of fruits which are in high demand at this time of the year. Welcome back to another week of News Central. I'm Kemini Amalo.
And I am Mawena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Now, from major cuts to government expenditure to the resumption of debt servicing, Finance Minister Dr. Kessie Alatoforsen will tomorrow be expected to lay bare the plans for President Mahama's vision of resetting Ghana's economy. The president, during his State of the Nation address, vowed to end the economic challenge currently bedeviling the country. Ahead of the budget presentation, Finance Minister has been providing insights into what to expect in a conversation with young people on Twitter last night. Let's get into some of the details as was captured during that conversation yesterday. And amongst many, you may have seen portions of this already on social media, where school feeding grant is expected to increase by some 33%, I should say, up from the 1 cedi 50 pesos per child to 2 cedis. The minister also mentioned yesterday that there will be significant budgetary allocation made to the agricultural sector. Same was said for sports development, following concerns or questions asked with respect to whether or not the betting tax should remain and should be channeled into sports development. He says that there have been conversations in relation to that, and in the medium term possibly could be considered. With reference to inflation and inflation targeting, the minister says what the government has set an ambitious target of 8% plus or minus 2 as inflation target for the end of the year. With regards to taxes, particularly at the ports, the minister mentions that there are processes underway to rationalize a number of these taxes at the ports because some of them do not go directly into the consolidated fund. Also, an economic policy team is coordinating to reduce the dollarization within the Ghanaian economy as well. We know already that there have been promises to remove, amongst many, the betting tax and then e-levy in tomorrow's budget. Also, the minister mentions measures to stabilize the city will be announced tomorrow with respect to the budget as and when he does present it. But let's hear a bit more from the minister, who has been assuring that he will make financial allocations available to every item listed in the budget tomorrow.
This is the President Mohammed's administration. It's not like the previous administration. And so if in the past budget was prepared, releases were made, and those releases were not actually paid by the Controller Accountant General, we should not assume that it is going to continue under President Mohammed's administration. Budgeting has to be credible. If you prepare a budget, you should prepare a budget with the hope that you are going to execute the budget. If you prepare the budget with wrong assumptions, and if you don't end up by ensuring that what you have budgeted for, you implement it properly, then it becomes a problem. But on the issue of releases, expect a strong announcement in the budget. That I can assure you. Expect that. And then I think the last question was the last question. I think it has to do with allocations, isn't it? And you made reference to the District Assembly Common Fund and all. Let's wait for the budget. We'll make some strong announcement as part of the budget.
Well, touching on changes between the previous year's budget and the yet-to-be-read one, Dr. Kasala Toforson said the budget will be heavy on expenditure cuts for government with the resumption in external debt servicing.
You'll be seeing some drop in primary expenditures because what we are seeking to do is to go through a very strong fiscal consolidation. You will see an increase in debt servicing because Ghana is resuming the payment of debt, because in the past 2 years, the government of Ghana was not servicing some debt, particularly the Eurobond debt servicing and all. But we have just resumed the servicing of those debts. And so you'll see an increase in the service obligation. If you adjust the servicing and look at primary expenditures, you see some significant reduction as compared to the outturn of 2024. That one, you should expect to see that. And I'll make it a point to announce the change in expenditure so that you will be satisfied and you'll be able to see that the government of Ghana has taken a bold step to reduce expenditure.
Well, Chairman of the National Economic Dialogue Planning Committee, Dr. Ishmael Yamson, says the cost of running government is too high and must simply be reduced. He spoke to me on hot issues.
The bureaucracy is costly, and we should sit back and say, do we need this? I mean, how many people in Limga? 32 million people. That's all. You go to Microsoft, go to Unilever, and how many people sit at the very top of that business? You will find there are no more than 8. And they have a turnover of $600 billion. What is Ghana's GDP? 70-something billion dollars. 70-something billion dollars. Look at people who are managing 70 billion as against people managing $600 billion. There's something wrong somewhere. We should speed up digitizing government because that will take the human intervention that promotes corruption, right? And also reduce the numbers because we have far too many people. I mean, every government that comes asked today, government payroll.
Right.
That's true.
So wage bill sustainability is a problem.
Yes.
Should we downsize?
Of course. Why shouldn't we?
So the government should be firing some people?
No, you don't start just go and fire people.
Okay.
Right? And that is where the difference comes. First of all, you have to determine the needs of government. And then say, this is what we need to manage government. How many people do we need for what we need to manage government? What kind of skills do we need? What professionalism do we need? So you walk backwards. So we call it process and systems. You study it.
Dr. Yamson also tells me government must be aggressive about expanding the tax net.
The 50% VAT is not unusual at all. It's not unusual. Maybe it's the application because those people who assemble they are all experts. So, but the issue of expanding the base,
right.
I think that nobody will argue the question that the few ones that are paying the taxes are the very ones that will go back and that. I give an example where one of the companies that I chair at one time, there were 12 GRA audits trying to find something so they can make money. And I said, but are they criminals? Why? So what time would they have to work for them to make money, for you to tax the money? So we need to expand the base. And they did talk about the real estate, right? Look at all the huge high-rise buildings in Accra. Are you very sure that those people are paid all their taxes before they put up those houses? I'm not sure about that. In any case, after putting them up, either they sell them or they rent them.
Right.
Did we get the rent from the rent tax from them, or when they sold it, did we get whatever tax they had to pay? And there are many. If you go to Accra, and it's not only here, go to Kumasi. So there are people who are making money but who are not paying taxes. And it is a truism. We can't run away from it. So we need to expand the tax bill.
Dr. Ishmael Yamson is chairperson of the National Economic Dialogue Planning Committee. More of that interview on YouTube. In the meantime, let's hit the grounds now and bring you more expectations from the George Queenin is at Abosokai, where a chunk of the economy operates. George, good afternoon to you. Talk to us about what you have picked up today.
Kevin, thanks, and thanks for having me this afternoon. And you can call it the leading, or one of the leading hubs in the country, Abosokai. Diversity abounds here, and so are expectations. And anytime you come here, want to sample expectations, what really the expectations are easy way of doing business, city depreciation, and also reduce import charges. And so this, of course, is the inaugural budget of the president. And so it actually marks a significant step in the president's commitment to resetting the economy. And so I'm here to engage the trading community, as if their expectations are still the same and if there are any changes. Because this is an inaugural budget. Are they going to expect too much for the president? What exactly are their concerns? I spoke to some of the members of the trading community, but I want that summed up by the vice president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association, Buta, Mr. Clement Watt, and he is here. Good afternoon, Mr. Clement.
Yeah, good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Mr. Clement, so in barely 24 hours, the finance minister will be presenting the inaugural budget. And of course, the president said he's going to reset the economy. Are you going to expect too much from this very budget?
Well, as the business community, you rightly put it up in your preamble that whatever we are looking for has to do with, cost of doing business, interest rates, CD stability. So that has been our challenge. And of course, abolishment of some taxes that we think is inimical to businesses. So we are looking forward, for one, the abolishment of G levy, and also number two, special import levy of 2%. And also we are looking forward for the abolishment of COVID levy of 1%, and also some taxes which were introduced in 2022 by the previous government, which had to do with a 20% charges on the fruits, beverages, that's the locally manufactured mineral water and then beverages. And also, we are also, looking forward for measures that the finance minister will outline, to control the stability of our CD. We are also looking up to the restructure of the VAT regime, because we think the current regime is not helping businesses. And so we want a review of the current structure. And we also want to hear something about the measures that the government intends to put out, to check its spending, because often more than not, government, spends too much, and we want to see what measures the government, will put in place, to control government spending. And also, we want also to hear something about the investment law, a review of the investment law, because what pertains now is not the best for the local trade. And also, what measures that government also intends to put, to help our factories, our locally, factories, so that they will be able to produce volumes and to check the over-dependency on the foreign goods. So basically, this is what, the business community is expecting from tomorrow's budget.
If you look at imports, 80% is from foreigners, and then the locals, 20%. Don't you think it's high time that we actually ensure that we make those, local businesses strong, so that we don't do more of the import, but we can get what we import here in Ghana?
Yes. So that is one area that we have to take a look at. And then by taking a look at that area, we have to, look at where we have the competitive advantage, where we can produce, in volumes, in order to, export some to our neighboring countries, and even, beyond, because it is true that it is not everything that we can be able to do. Where we have the competitive, advantage government should resource, local companies by way of, tax incentive of facility, by way of giving them low tariffs in terms of utility charges, so that they will be able, to produce more, so that we don't, depend too much on foreign imports.
I don't know about the retail war between you and Nigeria, and at the time, what the complaints are that Nigerian business, a Nigerian will sell something for 2 cedis, and the Ghanaian will sell it for 10 cedis. But people would like to buy that one, and first thing that's when this issue, it also has to do with the fact that Ghanaians want too much, money on what they sell.
It is never true. It is never true that Ghanaians, want to make, high margins. But the problem has to do with, the interest that, we source, facility from. Because if you are in Nigeria, you can get a facility at the interest rate of as low as maybe 7 or 10%. But what do we get here? 35 to 40%. So you don't expect me, to take a loan of 35 or 40%, to sell at the same price as somebody who has taken a loan at 10 or 11%. So that has been the challenge or the problem. If we are able, to get a facility at a very low rate, we can also sell at the price friends in Nigeria are selling.
Mr. Clement Boateng is the Vice President of Kuta, actually summoned all the expectations of the trading community at Abu Sokai. And like we always do, we'll bring you this budget presentation tomorrow. Make us your one-stop shop for everything 2025 budget and many more. We came to you from Abu Sokai. Thanks for watching. Good afternoon.
George, thank you so much for the reporting. George Quinn in there from Abu Sokai. There'll be more reactions, but remember that that inaugural budget reading will be live here on TV3 and all our socials, including YouTube. Right now, let's take you somewhere else and get you some reactions.
We're taking you to the Ashanti region, where many traders in Kumasi are anticipating the fulfillment of government promises to scrap some taxes. Let's take you there right now. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar has been engaging with them, as well as business owners, to gather their insights into tomorrow's budget presentation by the Finance Minister. Ibrahim, talk to us. What are the sentiments from the streets of the Garden City? Oh dear, does appear the connection right. Ibrahim can hear us now. Ibrahim, I'm asking what the reaction has been from the Ashanti region. Well, we know that the Finance Minister tomorrow is expected to present the first budget for Mahama II. That's the second term of President Mahama. There's been a number of things, a number of expectations. We also know that the IEA as well has been forecasting their expectation as well. We'll bring you that shortly with respect to what they want to hear from the Finance Minister tomorrow. But let's take you back to the Ashanti region right now, Kumasi to be specific, where my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar is on standby for us. Ibrahim, you've been engaging some of these traders and business owners. Talk to us about the expectation ahead of tomorrow. Well, it does appear Ibrahim is just not ready for us just as yet, and so we will seek to establish the connection properly to my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar as we try and continue to gauge a bit more with respect to opinions from across the country, really. Thomas Khan is our man in the central region, Cape Coast to be specific. We know that residents there as well have been speaking to their expectations with the minister, one of their very own. Let's touch base with him right now, as with regards what these residents have been telling him.
The e-levy, I think, is fetching the nation huge sums of money. Yeah, so I think that one should stay. Because at the long run, the money that will be, how do you call it, that will be mobilized, will be used to undertake developmental projects for the country. And it will benefit all of us as a whole.
All right, so being a youth, in the 24-hour economy, what sector do you think we should focus on?
Okay, I think the
That will create more jobs.
That will create the agriculture sector will do. Yeah.
I'm very disappointed.
Within the campaign in news wabezo na advert ya ono na ozaye na azikase nti ono kotinye sense mpo ya to women sande yuti nye adwuma nye ebe kepa ya dempa no ye kwanhwe ne ye so ahwe yitwa nti oze adwuma bi aba no run 24 hours the way adwuma ne ya ye na onfa pum fie nti efere ye tv bi dem na ye so nya nkenye bi de ye ze ko hwe adwuma ne bi aye 24-hour economy na oza to na kwem obeye obobam
na yi levin so sisi ano baby na important send this come for fund because say you live what too much e send this ka what to ekomomo so erika ka transfer no so what to scanner be nyo system na why exam so yes aban there ono na aban papa ndc aban on fa bibia ntutu na kwem 24-hour economy on ye me ye hunde say no no kwa there only need be all ben wa baba reset Ghana because the policy now so all baba reset Ghana and ye Jesus today all baba reset Ghana.
And that's my colleague Thomas Khan with views from the Central Region Cape Coast. Let's take you right now to the University of Ghana campus where my colleague Noble Crosby Annan as well is engaging young students with regards to their expectation of that first budget. The NDC budget went heavy on the youth. They launched a youth manifesto even before the manifesto proper was launched. What is the expectation of young people, particularly of the finance minister, as he gears up in readiness for tomorrow? Crosby's joined us right now with details. You've been interacting with a number of these students. What have they been telling you, Crosby?
Well, Eric, as we await the 2025 budget statement and economic policy to be presented by the Finance Minister, Dr. Ato Forsing, anticipation is building among university students and job seekers, if you like. Well, the government's focus on addressing youth unemployment through initiatives like the National Apprenticeship Program, 1 million coders program, the 24-hour economic policy maybe. These and others, they're underscoring a certain sense of commitment to empowering the youth. Now, for students too, they have been promised free first-year university fees, amongst others. These measures, they're designed to equip the generation, the younger generation, with skills and opportunities in a competitive job market. Let's now hear directly from the university students and job seekers on what they expect of the Finance Minister, Dr. Ato Forsing, in terms of policy direction and what they hope is mentioned for them to better their lives ahead of the budget presentation by the Finance Minister. I've been joined with some students from the University of Ghana and some job seekers as well. We'll interact with them briefly, starting with you. A big day for the Finance Minister. You are a job seeker. What are your expectations?
Very good afternoon to your viewers. My expectations are very simple. I am more interested in the arts, tourism and culture industry. Back in 2023, we had about over 1 million tourists coming into Ghana just for the year of return and what have you. And also in the president's manifesto, he spoke about the Black Star experience. And with this Black Star experience, I see it to be an opportunity for young, talented artists or young people who want to enter into the entertainment industry or the tourism or the art and culture industry to also display and also sell their talents to the tourists who are going to come. Maybe there may be potential managers or potential investors who can also help. So I am thinking, why don't we make it better? Why don't we invest bigger in it? Because we can't be investing smaller all the time and be expecting huge results.
Right, that is where you want to focus on. That's what you expect. Yeah. You clearly are a student. So from the perspective of a student, what would you look out to hear?
Right, it's simply the bread and butter issues on campus and how we are going to, our standard of living will improve our students. We are looking at basically things that affect we the youth as well. I mean, and the cancellation of the e-levy. These are the things that also affect us as students. We are also looking at the the cancellation of the betting tax as well. We can all play the ostrich role, but these are the things that some students also perhaps also. Well, we don't encourage that, but we the youth and whatnot. We can also survive through that. We're also looking at youth in trading and the 1 million codes program. We are going to look at how the government or the budget is going to structure a source of funding so that we can also be assured that, even if I complete my school and I don't get a job, I have, a program or a chain that I can go into. Youth in mining too. I also heard about that. How they are going to make sure we, the youth, can structure us into the mining sector to be able to do the mining in such a way that affect the environment. We're also looking at how they are going to pay for the fees for the level 100s. We are now still a bit skeptical about whether these level 100s will receive their money back or not. We are hearing rumors that I think at the very turn of the Minister of Education, he said that they would reimburse that's a very good idea. Although parents are paid, but it can also cushion us. Even when it comes, our parents can say, okay, you take it and hold on. It can help us on campus. So the bread and butter issues, the thing that affect us daily and our lives are what we are looking at and expecting that the budget will tackle. We can look at the other excesses in government and whatnot, cutting the expenditure and whatnot, but if they don't reflect in
your pocket,
exactly in my pocket, like we say, it will basically be nothing to me, but I must be able to feel it and know that things are going on well.
Right. Eric, let's get some more views from some students as well on what they expect of the finance minister. A lot of expectations. He mentioned that the betting tax, the promise that it be cancelled, that it happens. There are also conversations about cancelling the COVID-19 levy amongst others. But in terms of revenue generating, we'll need money to run the country. But what do you hope the finance minister talks about in terms of Ghana getting money and for your standard of living to also improve as a student?
Okay, my expectations on tomorrow's budget presentation, especially with regards to the COVID levy, I will be very happy if the COVID levy should be taken out and being replaced with a free SHS levy in order for us to be able to cushion and sustain and maintain the free SHS policy.
You're looking for a free SHS levy?
Yes, that's one of my expectations. And secondly, because we are of the belief that the free SHS doesn't have a static source of income. We just take it. Sometimes it is being financed by external loans and sometimes revenue from our oil. So I am of high expectation that there is an introduction of a free SHS levy. In worst case scenario, the COVID levy should be rather changed into a free SHS levy. And secondly, I will be very glad if there is a talk about the implementation of the 24-hour economy, because the most important thing of students is right after graduation there are jobs. We don't want to be in a situation whereby we are going to form an unemployed graduate association. That would be a very burden on our parents, because our parents brought us here in order for us to be asset, not also to be a liability after a 4-year in Legon or in every tertiary institution. And my other expectation is the no free stress, because I remember in the youth manifesto of this government, they reiterated that the government is going to cover the tuition fee for level 100. So I'll be very happy if it begins this particular year. I mean the next academic year, which is September. So these are a few of my expectations.
Thank you. Talk to me. You're also a student here. From the perspective of a student, what would you want the finance minister to touch on? What clarifications would you need? And if you like, source of funding to what you want to hear?
All right. So thank you so much. And for my expectations in tomorrow's budget reading, I'm expecting much. And as a matter of fact, as a student, as a political science and geography student here at the University of Ghana, I'm expecting that the budget will see into it that the free SHS policy, because according to this incumbent government, they want to review it. And in reviewing it and making it effective and efficient, funds are needed to do that. So I'm expecting that the free SHS policy will be captured in the budget reading, so that funds allocated to it will make sure that, just as they are saying, it will be very better and convenient for all. Also, the inclusion of the private senior high schools in the free SHS policy. I'm also looking out for that and how the budget can capture that too. And as a university student, in the manifesto of this incumbent government, they made mention that accommodation crisis or infrastructural development on the various tertiary institutions, especially in the universities, are worrying. So I'm looking now for the budget to capture it into it, that there are infrastructures that are going to be developed, there are hostels, accommodation facilities that are going to be developed. And notwithstanding that, in the past years, we experienced various strike actions by the lecturers and the other associations here on campus that distorted the academic system or the education system here in Ghana. So I'm looking now for the lecturers and the other associations here on campus to also be captured in the budget so that we will have a smooth running of our educational processes. And I'm someone who is widely versed in most of the fields. So I'm looking now for employment too. Economic growth, how we can subsidize or boost our local industries to ensure economic growth, the dollar and the cedi ratio too, and the implementation of the various things that we need to do or to put in place to ensure our economy is stabilized. And I'm also looking out for climate change and environmental sustainability, sanitation and all that. And recently I heard that the MPs are trying to use the carbon funds for their pension something. I'm also looking out for that. Is it going to be just as they are saying, or they are going to allocate carbon or climate change funds for climate change activities? So I'm looking at all these things as a student.
So, gentlemen, you have various expectations of the finance minister when he presents the economic policy and budget statement. But where is he getting the money from? Is any of you expecting new taxes, an increase in certain taxes that will pay? Maybe I'll come to you.
Right. We don't expect any new tax.
How then would he fund the things you want him to fund?
Well, they knew all that before they came into government. They promised out all the goodies before they came into government. So we are not expecting them to come and tell us stories like exactly. No. They are doing away with expenditure. So we should see it reflect in the budget. We should see that, okay, this independence celebration, that they're a very good one. Saved most of us time, a lot of energy that would have been wasted on the food, perhaps inputs and all that. So if you are coming to implement this and you have had your strategies, we had good-minded people who drafted the manifesto. So we are not expecting to see new manifesto, but we are seeing that they want to cancel some, the levies and whatnot, meaning that they had a plan in how to replace it. But we don't expect them to see,
you spoke about replacement. How does government rake in revenue?
Just like I made mention earlier, I happen to find myself in the tourism, art and culture industry, where I believe it is a mine which hasn't been tapped into properly yet. And if we make the proper investment there, we can generate enough money to cater for all the taxes that they are going to
almost all other sectors.
And looking at also the another sector like the mineral sector or the mining industry, for instance, let's take a look at the recently established the gold board. The gold board, its main aim is to act like, let's say, to the layman's understanding, it's like the cocoa board, where they are going to regulate the activities of gold buying, gold selling, and generate enough revenue for the country. So with an establishment like gold board, I think it's going to also provide some sort of income revenue generation for the government. And also, if we are able to focus and properly invest in the tourism industry, we are going to get a lot of money from there that we might
need extra taxes or more taxes. I see. But talk to me. Are you expecting more taxes or other taxes so that government can fund its expenditure? Or you think just reducing expenditure or investing properly will be the way to go?
I believe the government has to do away with a lot of taxes. Because
not introduce new ones?
Because that's what, should they even take out more taxes, they can introduce one or two, not to replace the old taxes, but in a way,
You spoke about the free SHS levy, for instance.
I am of high conviction that the COVID levy tax should be taken out and be replaced with free SHS tax.
And that's my colleague Noble Crosby and interacting with some university students at the University of Ghana. We're taking you back to Kumasi right now, Kemini.
Indeed. Over there, traders are anticipating the fulfillment of the government promise to scrap some taxes. Ibrahim Abubakar has been engaging with these traders and business owners to gather their insights on John Mahama's inaugural budget. Ibrahim is joining us via telephone for a bit more on this story. Ibrahim, good afternoon. What else are the traders saying?
Germany, they are saying that if you consider the cost of items now, it's quite expensive. Not because it is expensive out there, because they have admitted that when you go out there to buy things that they sell, it is quite cheaper. But when you bring it to Ghana, then it becomes expensive. Not because they are adding excess profits, but because of the numerous taxes that they have to pay to be able to even come to their shops and sell it. So they are just expecting that the president goes by his promise of reducing or eliminating some nuisance taxes. They have talked about even the e-levy, some COVID-19 taxes and other additional taxes, which they believe if duly effected, it will bring relief to the traders and also consumers as well. And also in Ashanti region of Kumasi, traders are also hoping to see the budget capturing the completion of the second phase of the KJTR market. Others are also hoping to see budget capturing the completion of the Swami market, because we've been told by the government in recent times that the money that was the loan that was supposed to be secured for the completion of the Swami market has not come, and for that matter, government will have to find a new way of funding that project. So they are keenly hoping that those projects will also be captured. But earlier I engaged some of the traders with regards to their expectations, and let's listen to what they've been sharing with us.
My expectation from the government is that you should do the tax rate, because when you go to the other foreign country to buy the goods they are very cheap. But when you bring it here, you can't sell it because of the tax rate and the duty too. And because when you are coming, the customs, they will charge you. After that, the other expenses is very high. So you should do something about the budget for us, most especially the business sector. The income tax, for instance, and then the duty taxes. You should reduce it for us, and it will help us.
Before he assumed office, he was saying that there will be reduction of taxes and then elimination of some taxes from the previous government. So that one to be expecting that the right thing must be done. So we will be expecting him to abolish the e-levy as he promised. If the government take it upon himself and then widen the tax net, let each and every trader pay a little sum of money, it will help the government, it will help the nation.
Some voices from the Ashanti regional capital, Kumasi. Earlier was our correspondent, Ibrahim Abubakar, taking us on our very first break. This is News Central. We'll be right back.
And we're back here on News Central. We're continuing the conversation in relation to the 2025 budget to be presented by Finance Minister Dr. KCL Ato-Forson. It will be the first budget of the Mahama administration since he took office on the 7th of January. We've been hearing conversations in relation to what the minister is expected to present to us tomorrow. Well, the Institute of Economic Affairs, IEA, have also been providing details as to expectations for this year's budget. Let's try and walk you through exactly what the details are with respect to what they are looking forward to from tax cuts, and then as well dealing with corruption, rationalizing expenditure, amongst many others. Let's start with what they expect should happen, particularly with reference to revenue management. Now, the Institute of Economic Affairs are backing a push for the e-levy, COVID levy, and emissions tax to be completely abolished, but they are opposed to the removal of the betting tax as it is useful for both revenue and deterrence purposes. Well, on that front, we can confirm to you that that will not be the case, as the minister, as part of his interactions with young people yesterday, stressed that there's a possibility that could come, that's the betting tax, will come somewhat in the medium term, but in the immediacy, it's one of the many things that was promised by the John Mahama administration, and so this betting tax will go as well. But let's look a bit more with reference to the expenditure management to be expected by the government. IEA says that they are expecting government to check public corruption and inefficiencies, and also with regards to debt management, maintain strong fiscal consolidation efforts to keep the public debt on the envisaged sustainable path. Let's pause on this, speak to Dr. John Kwache. He is with the IEA and is joining us on phone right now with respect to their expectations of the finance minister tomorrow. Doc, I appreciate that you could speak to us. How feasible can government balance cutting expenditure with reference to the budget tomorrow? We know the minister has been going heavy on that in the lead up to the budget presentation tomorrow. But from where you sit, how feasible is it?
Well, as we have said, the budget will have to follow the fiscal consolidation path. In the IMF program. And of course, this will require measures both on the revenue side and the expenditure side. So on the expenditure side, of course, the president has already taken the move made the move by cutting down the number of ministries and ministers. So that is going to help, somehow to reduce expenditure. But beyond that, we are also calling for, recurrent expenditure, to be controlled, especially expenditure on administration, travels, and then the rest. And then we are also calling for a rebalancing of expenditure, because in the past, capital expenditure has been squeezed to just about 3 to 4% of GDP, which is not good enough. I mean, it's sufficient for our long-term growth. So we are calling for a rebalancing of expenditure. And then also efficiency of expenditure. We have to take a critical look at what we spend on and then monitor the expenditure closely such that we have value for money. And we are happy to hear the president say that he's going to establish an independent office for value for money.
Right.
So we are calling for efficiency in government expenditure. But when you do that, you also make a saving, which you can then use for other purposes.
Doc, I'm just going to stay with you on the expenditure cut, because yesterday we heard from the finance minister as well speak to the fact that there will be heavy cuts in government expenditure, but also in the same vein, stressing on significant allocations being made to agriculture and the likes. You in civil society are asking for rationalization and then significant cuts in expenditure to ensure that we stay within budget. How does the government balance the expectation to cut its expenditure and yet be able to meet some of the key promises they've been making to Ghanaians?
Well, that's always a balancing act that the government, have to do. In the past, we always talk about cutting expenditure, but in the end, when the budget numbers are reported, it seems that we invariably even exceed our expenditure. And recurrent expenditure is always the culprit. So what we are hoping for is that when the recurrent expenditure envelope, is announced, we expect to see significant cuts there. And as I've said, reducing the number of ministries, stopping first-class travels and then those measures are expected to help, at least reduce recurrent expenditure so that they can make room for, as you have said, more expenditure on agriculture, capital expenditure, infrastructure, and so on, which are good for development.
Right then, Doc, we'll leave the conversation here. I'm sure tomorrow we'll hear a lot more from the minister, and then we can come back to you for reviews on what it is that we heard from the minister. But I appreciate that you could speak to us. That's Dr. John Kwachi speaking to us ahead of tomorrow. It will take us onto Regional Hub.
Residents of Nyamesomiede in the Adansi Akrofom district of the Ashanti region are voicing their concerns about persistent power surges in the area. This issue, the report, has been ongoing for over 5 years and has caused damage to their electrical appliances. They are therefore urging the Electricity Company of Ghana to take immediate action to address the problem.
Voltage fluctuations and frequent power outages have become a norm in Nyamesomiede. Residents claim that these power issues disrupt their daily activities and cause damage to their electrical appliances.
The number of electrical appliances destroyed due to the power surge is countless. Most of our industrial machines have been damaged, resulting in decreased productivity. The lights flicker on and off intermittently. ECG has not treated us fairly, despite the high tariff. We may have to stop paying the bills if the situation continues.
Assembly member for Nana Okan electoral area, Douglas Fosumensa, stated that the current power situation is also a significant security concern for residents.
Residents of this community have been patient, but it is now clear that the issue of unreliable voltage supply cannot be ignored any longer. It's causing financial strain, damaging vital home equipment, and putting our safety at risk. We need a solution, and we need it now. We hereby outline key demands, including a call for thorough inspection of the local power grid to demand the root cause of this instability, a demand for a concrete plan to stabilize the voltage supply, and a public commitment to a timeline for solution, ensuring that the issue is not only addressed, but rather regular maintenance and monitoring will be prioritized to prevent future disruptions.
For now, residents will have to endure these challenges until the power situation is resolved.
Let's continue Regional Hub, take you to the Western region where communities in the Jura area of the Evaluate Ajomoro Jura constituency in the Western region lack access to telecommunications networks. The situation is impacting both their social and economic lives, with teachers and other essential workers deserting the area.
Ferry spot in Kutukrum is the go-to for most residents seeking to communicate with the rest of the world. The spontaneous nature of GSM connection for telecommunication makes connecting to this improvised Wi-Fi network the only option. Mostly in the evenings, residents crowd around this improvised network to have access to the internet but at an abnormal rate. Evans Adu, who is the unit committee chairman for Sikani Asem electoral area, makes an over 2 kilometers journey from his community, Drensayem, to Kutukrum to have access to the internet to enable him access information. For every hour, he purchases 100 Ghana cedis worth of data to stay connected to the Wi-Fi. Including the cost of his travel, he spends 140 Ghana cedis.
20 hours. But this is data once I'm ready.
Access to internet is difficult. I come from Shayem to have access to the internet to be able to access information. You need from 20 cedis upwards to connect to this Wi-Fi. I need 100 cedis if I want to stay connected for an hour. Most educational and other essential workers posted to the area have either applied for transfers or completely abandoned their posts. Adam Fahal, a teacher at the basic school in Jura, also shared his frustrations.
In fact, my experience in this community is very worrying. Because a teacher posted here, I was posted here in 2022 from Upper West. So when I came here, in fact, the first day I came into this community, I was even confused. Because to even get to have access to network to make a simple call is always a problem to us. So after all that I can, maybe if I can even get postings to a different school, but I couldn't get the postings. So as of now, in the school, we have only 2 teaching staff. We are only 2 here. So we are even practicing a multi-grade system. So I am holding about 3 classes, 4, 5, and 6. And my other colleague also have also taken from basic 1 to basic 3. So in fact, the committee here, especially the network system here, you know, as a teacher, I have to get access to network so that I'm going through the internet, be seeing whatever is happening. Sometimes we are always behind news. We always go to the office and they will tell us, now, why are you submitting your report late? Because there's always maybe a news or there's something that we have to do before even the closing date. But before the last, the date is always over because of the network system over here.
Campaigning as then opposition candidate in the run-up to the 2024 general elections, President John Dramani Mahama hinted that his government was going to make it a priority to install telecommunication infrastructure in the area. The people are earnestly waiting for the fulfillment of that promise. Nana Kwadwo Pompoi III, chief of Drensayem, who is troubled about the situation, told TV3 News that he looks forward to seeing that promise honored.
His Excellency John Dramani Mama.
The only hope I have now is the president's promise he made when he came to Kutukrum during his campaign. The second target of the Sustainable Development Goal 9 enjoins UN member states to ensure universal access to information and communication technology. But these residents in Kutukrum, Sikani Asem, Drayuoso, and about 17 other communities are yet to have this right fulfilled. For TV3 News, I am Akwesi Ado.
Let's turn attention to Ramadan. Fruits are a staple food during this period, offering a refreshing and nutritious way to break the fast. This typically leads to booming business for fruit vendors. However, this year's Ramadan presents a unique challenge due to last year's drought. Bono East Regional Correspondent Belinda Tete has filed this report.
Traditionally, dates, watermelons, mangoes, bananas, oranges, and other fruits are popular during Ramadan. However, this year's Ramadan coincides with Ghana's off-peak fruit season, which has been worsened by the recent dry spell. Mangoes and watermelons, two of the most sought-after fruits, are typically harvested between November and April, May and July respectively. As a result, their availability and affordability have been significantly affected. Ransford, a fruit enthusiast, says last year's drought has impacted not only availability of fruit, but also their quality. He lamented that a few fruits available are not properly matured, yet come at steep prices.
I
came to buy pear, but due to last year's drought, the fruit couldn't develop the way we like it. Due to that, the prices has increased. The ones we usually get for 5 cedis are now 10 cedis and 12 cedis. Rukaya Yakubu, who visited the market to buy watermelon, was surprised to find the prices far beyond her budget.
I
wanted to buy watermelon, but now it sells for 25 cedis. That is beyond my budget, so I would have to stop buying. Mariama, a local fruit vendor, said the scarcity of watermelons and other fruits has led to the significant surge in prices. She explained that small-sized watermelons, which previously sold for 5 or 10 cedis, now cost 30 cedis, driving away customers. I usually give this out for 5 cedis or 10 cedis, and it moves faster. But now this is selling for 30 cedis, and even if I decide to give it out for 25, I'll run at a low. Christiana Yeboah, another vendor, shared similar concerns, revealing that a bag of mangoes now costs 1,000 Ghana cedis. Due to the dry season, mango harvest has delayed, causing the prices to increase. Because of that, we are unable to buy much goods when we go to the farms. Now a bag of mango is so expensive. Even the smaller sizes, one bag goes for 1,000 Ghana cedis. And by the time you get to the market, considerable amounts would have perished. This situation highlights the urgent need to improve and promote efficient irrigation systems in Ghana. Belinda Tete, TV3 News, Techiman, Bunu East Region.
And just before we leave, President Mahama on Monday morning, or that's today, arrived in Ouagadougou to hold bilateral talks with Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the Burkina Faso leader. He was met at the Burkinabe airport with the Guard of Honor. And President John Mahama was accompanied by presidential envoy to the Sahelian states, Colonel Larry Gbevlolate, Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, as well as Executive Secretary to the President, Dr. Callistus Mahama. And it's following through on his promise when Captain Ibrahim Traoré visited us during the swearing-in. Subsequently, they met. He promised that he was going to make a trip there, and so no surprises. But he's been visiting the Sahel countries as well as part of his bid to bridge the peace between ECOWAS and then the groups as well. And so interesting first few months in terms of foreign policy for the president as well. But that's our bulletin for you this hour, which came to you from our studios here on the John Hammond Street. I am Awina Igbeta.
And I am Kemeni Amano. Next is the afternoon show. Bye-bye for now.